Well, hey there, all you beautiful Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. I know, good to see you too. Wait, what's today? Is it Thursday? Oh, man, I think I put Friday on the title of the video. Can I change that, or is it too late? All right, well, we got to jump right into the news because I had a whole boat planned, and then in just like the last 2 hours, a bunch of stuff has been added to my plate here. So we're going to start off with the great Raven Harrison. Now, Raven, I'm about to disappoint you here because I was trying to come up with some sort of clever intro for you. And so I went and grabbed some Raven sounds because, you got a cool name, Raven, right? That's like one of those sleek, sexy birds. But it's not that cool. Listen, it sounds kind of like crows. So that I can't do anything cool with this, Raven. Anyway, other than that,
that's completely uncool.
Welcome to the show. Otherwise. All right, so top story here. We talk a lot about national politics, but you're local. What do you think about the Dallas police chief, or the interim Dallas police chief Michael Igoe, saying that he's not going to comply with ICE and illegal immigrants?
He is out of his mind, and the days of liberals and people on the extreme left thinking they can cherry pick which laws they want to uphold or follow are coming to a close. Like Tom Homan said, then, he can be deported with them then, or he can enjoy Gitmo, because these people need to start going to jail. A law enforcement officer who is sworn to uphold the laws of the United States does not have the option to say, I'm going to set these aside. I'm going to not honor these. And his logic of saying, I want people to feel safe. I mean, they just speak in oxymoron. So you want people to feel safe when you're shielding people who are in our country illegally and have broken the law by being here or overstaying their visa, and you want the community of taxpayers who pay you to feel safe when you're not prosecuting criminals. We don't want criminals to be afraid of us. Yes, we do. We absolutely do.
Well, I think this puts an interesting scenario at the feet of our new border czar, Tom Homan, who said that he will arrest people who stand in the way. I have the clip here. Right after it was announced he was going to be the border czar, before he was confirmed. I guess there's not a confirmation process. This goes back to November 25th, 2024.
I want you to be clear about who has jurisdiction, the federal government or state and local governments. And if you're a sanctuary state or city, are you breaking the law?
You're absolutely breaking law. All you have to do is look at Arizona versus U.S. You'll see these breaking law. But look, me and the Denver mayor, we agree on one thing. He's willing to go to jail. I'm willing to put him in jail.
Uh-oh. Raven?
That's the mic drop, and that's where it is. And my suggestion to Tom Homan would be, we also are going to need to see the perp walk on pay-per-view, because a lot of us need to start seeing these people go to jail. And as soon as people start going to jail for this, then it will stop happening. But again, he needs to choose a different line of work, but maybe license plate making, but he is not going to be tasked to uphold the law and then decide that there's just these I don't want to uphold. And that just goes to show you that the number of illegals who are in our state, our cities, and our country are way more than was previously thought, because we shouldn't have empty farmers markets. We shouldn't have empty stores. We shouldn't have people struggling to find employees. That just tells you what a mess we've created, and we've become dependent on a system that's broken.
Well, Raven, I don't know if you actually saw the video. I'm not allowed to play it because we don't have the rights to the audio or whatever. But I did type out a transcript. The clip that from yesterday. He's at a Spanish-speaking church here in Southeast Dallas. He said, the Dallas Police Department is not assisting any federal agency on detaining people that are either documented or undocumented in the city of Dallas. Do you know anyone that knows Tom Homan? Do you know Tom Homan? Can we get this guy on the phone? Because if this is going to be the first standoff, if there is going to be a standoff, I'd like to see it start right here. Let's go.
So to answer your question, yes, I know Tom Homan. I have a cell phone number. I can't use it for this.
Oh, yeah, you can. Or just float him a text. Just float him a text.
I'm telling you, what I would say is we don't need his help. Tom said get out of the way. And again, so we're not looking for their assistance. That time is past. So you can decide to comply and do your job, or you can go to jail. It's really just that simple. And that's what the community should be outraged. They should be calling for his resignation on a silver platter. hopefully one that didn't cost $90,000 out of U.S. aid. But we need to be calling for these people to be held accountable. And my suggestion is always pay-per-view, James, always.
Love that. All right. So the big news we're starting off with today with Raven Harrison here. The Dallas police chief, interim police chief Igoe, said he will not join ICE deportation raids or even hold people. It sounds like he's operating in violation of the law. I can't wait to see what happens next, Raven.
It's going to be interesting, but we the people have to be vigilant and diligent and still not letting these people, since when do criminals get to decide if they want to be locked up? It doesn't work that way. So he needs either a cell facing whatever direction he'd like in Gitmo, or he needs to do his job, and the people need to demand that he does it.
Well, Raven, right now, at the same time, we have other members of Team Blue telling the media that it's not fair if Donald Trump or whoever else in the executive branch picks and chooses what laws they want to adhere to or not adhere to, or what spending they do or do not want to actually follow through with after it's been appropriated. Oh, really? You can't pick and choose the laws anymore? That's so interesting. You know, it's fun to see them go back and forth like that.
Well, it is. I mean, did Omar marry her brother? You know, nobody said anything about that. You know, Rashida Tlaib is being funded by Hamas. Nobody said anything about that either. We've been sitting for 4 years while they protected a dementia patient and gave him access to nukes. So their opinion is mute at this point. But yes, her giving, please let her have a cell next to this guy of AOC actually telling people how to evade ICE. And this is in violation of federal law. These people who are sworn to uphold the Constitution, who obviously haven't read it.
Love it. All right. Where do they find your work outside of the James Show, Raven?
Well, all my new ventures, but you can find me at ravenharrison.com or ravenharrisonforcongress.com.
Weren't you supposed to announce something like in the next week or so?
James, I thought you were on my page. We announced that about a week ago.
What is it? You're running for Congress?
I'm running for Congress.
Well, you hadn't said it on my show yet, so I want you to make it official.
Yes, it's official.
All right. So what are you running for? What is it, like the State House, the big Congress? Which one?
No, people have to go because there's a twist in there. I told you we had to do our best to help President Trump. We had to jump in, and it required a little maneuvering. So you have to go to the website to find out where I am and what I'm doing.
I guess I will. RavenHarrison.com. Thank you very much.
Thanks, James.
All right. Now, I can't play the audio of the Dallas police chief saying what he said last night. We just don't have the legal permission to. But I did go find a video where he was saying something very similar, and they put it on the Dallas Police Department YouTube page. Now, that sets up an interesting situation because Tom Homan, your new border czar, has said in a couple of interviews that he's going to be prosecuting sanctuary cities, people who harbor them, too.
What will happen? What will ICE do to the politicians, the advocacy groups, the cities and states that have sanctuary status that are aiding and abetting in the law breaking? What will you do to those people that are openly not just opposing, but helping those people that broke the law and didn't respect our borders and sovereignty?
If they openly impede us, that's a violation of federal law. It's a felony. If they knowingly harbor and conceal an alien, that's a felony. We will seek prosecution through the U.S. Attorney's Office. We got a great U.S. Attorney coming in, Pam Bondi. She's all in. So we're going to seek prosecution, Sean. That's what we have to do because they're releasing public safety threats back in the community. Any sanctuary city, any elected mayor, city councilman, a governor who thinks it's a good idea to release public safety threats back in the community to reoffend, it's just ridiculous. We're going to hold them accountable. The Trump administration will hold them accountable to prosecution.
Oh, no. Well, he said some big words now. Is he going to back them up? Should he back them up? Because there's three ways you can look at this. If you see that the Dallas police chief isn't going to comply with ICE and the deportations and the getting rid of illegal immigrants, some people think he should be cheered. That's what most of the media is doing today. Dallas Morning News and the TV stations and probably the Observer or whatnot. A lot of people think he should be fired. Tom Homan thinks, according to Tom Homan's own words, that he should be arrested. What do you think? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Should Igoe, the Dallas police chief, be cheered, fired, or arrested? Cindy in Bedford, you're on WBAP. What do you think?
Well, I think he should wait till he does it and then removed from office and put in jail. Come on, who does he think he is? He doesn't get to pick and choose which laws he enforces. If 14 people run a red light, you're going to let them all go because you think they might be illegal aliens and you feel sorry for them? Give me a break.
Okay, what do you think about his excuse for it? His concern, at least he says out loud, is for public safety in general, and he doesn't want them to be scared to call the cops if they've been a victim of a crime. He doesn't want them to be scared to reach out and be a witness if they saw someone else do a crime. So do you think there's a public safety aspect to this?
Well, there may be, but here's the thing. It will be a worse public safety problem if nothing is done. And I'd invite him to trot down to, Mexico City or Venezuela or someplace and be an illegal alien and see how much protection their police give him.
All right. Well, Cindy, you got your voice heard here on The James Show. I appreciate you calling in.
Thanks.
I think a lot of people feel like that. Judging by the comments that I get, especially when I'm reading comments on other people's posts that are in realms that have a tinge of anonymity. So not so much like a Facebook or an Instagram, but more like in the Reddit realms of the world. People are not real happy with that. And I think there's a lot of people who'd be excited to see what happens because you've kind of felt your entire life that if you sit there and you harbor a felon, you're breaking a federal law. I've felt Sanctuary City guys, people who pull this off, they should have handcuffs on them years ago. I don't understand why this was ever tolerated in past administrations. I really don't understand why it was tolerated in Trump 1.0. John in Hearst, you're next up on WBAP. What do you think about the DPD not complying with ICE?
No, they need to do their job. They need to do it. I'd hate to be on the wrong side of Mr. Holman. Speaking of Mr. Holman, I was heard earlier today that he found the leak for the ICE raids. I think that was in Colorado. It was an FBI employee. They're supposed to be fired, lose their pension, and they're going to prosecute him. I'm asking you, what do you think is going to happen to him? They're going to make an example out of I don't know if it's a male or a female, and make an example out of him and throw the whole book at him? Or, if you found out who was leaking the information, what would you do, dude?
I would throw the book at him. I would throw the book at him. Well, here's what I want to happen. I want the book to be thrown at that guy. I want the book to be thrown at the interim Dallas police chief. I want the book to be thrown at someone was bringing up over here on Facebook. Who was that? That was Scott. He said, check out Sheriff Larry Smith, Smith County, on topic with your first segment. Right. Even in I know this is so embarrassing, but even out in Bug Tussle, the sheriff of Smith County said that he's not going to be reporting all the undocumented illegals that he get in custody either. And he said the same thing. This is about public safety, and we want them to be able to feel safe reporting crimes or being witnesses to crime or helping us solve other crimes. Yeah, so this isn't even really a big Dallas thing. You would think, this is Texas, this is hyper red. So Dallas isn't complying. They're not complying in Bug Tussle. My only hesitation on this is Trump was already in office for 4 years, and he didn't come put bracelets on any of these guys, handcuffs. I'm just being metaphorical here. So
right.
I hope they do, but I'm not sure if they will. I'm not sure if this isn't just a bunch of talk.
I'm unsure, but I'd hate to be on the other side of Tom Holman. I'd hate to have be in his crosshairs.
Well, he hadn't done nothing yet.
Like a bad man.
I hope you're right. I hope you're right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, good stuff.
He sure talks it. Thank you, sir.
That's John and Hurst. And thank you for all the guys commenting over here on Facebook. Scott, you're right. I hadn't brought that up, but Larry Smith, and that's where I'm from. That's where Bug Tussle is, Smith County. Yeah, he's not complying either. So this isn't like in so many of these shows, country people make fun of city people or city people make fun of country people. No, we both have this problem now. And I guarantee you, it's how many guys are going to have handcuffs put on them before the rest of them fall in line? Not too many. Not too many. Bob also says one more here before I go to break from Facebook. Bob says he's interim and is bootlicking newly appointed DEI city manager Kim Tolbert so he can be named permanent chief. I'm not sure if you're right, but that is one ugly spectacle of any of these political positions. Like you think he's just a regular police officer. No, once you get that high up in the brass, you're subject to the whims of politicians and thus are kind of politician adjacent yourself. The interim Dallas police chief, Michael Igo, was at a public event at a church, Familia Bethel, Internacional. It's over in Southeast Dallas, and he said that he's not going to be complying with the ICE deportations. And I can't play the audio, but let me go ahead and just read it because I took the time to type it out. The important part, he says, Igoe said, the Dallas Police Department is not assisting any federal agency on detaining people that are either documented or undocumented in the city of Dallas. Tom Homan said anyone who doesn't comply, that's illegal. They're going to get arrested for standing in the way of law enforcement. And so I think we have ourselves, finally, the first real Mexican standoff in the Sanctuary City battle. This has bothered me. It's just been a burr under your saddle, knowing that there's been people who selectively enforce the laws when their entire job is law enforcement. You're a policeman. You're a police chief. Law enforcement is supposed to be your bag. You're not supposed to be like, that law is all right. I don't care about that one. This one, I'll enforce that. If you miss a parking ticket, they'll drag you through the mud. They'll raise your insurance rates. They'll make you pay a giant fine. They may even stop you from renewing your license. They make you go to court. You got to fill out paperwork. But these other guys, no. We don't want them to be scared of talking to policemen. Real quick before I get to the phones, if you want to jump in, 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. Let me read you some feedback from Facebook. Jody says, hey, James. Well, hey, Jody. He says, you should get the head of the Dallas Police Union on the air and see if they agree with the chief. That's a great idea. Garrett, can you make that happen? Either the police union or if there's like a fraternal order of police head that we could talk to. But that would be interesting. Jason says on Facebook, don't police chiefs take an oath to uphold the law? Yeah, then it's kind of a deal, isn't it? Isn't he breaking that oath by harboring people who broke the law as soon as they crossed the border? Yes. Also, I wonder how the officers on the street feel about this. All great points. Yeah, I should have brought that up in the last segment. I wonder how the officers on the street feel about this. Because on one hand, I could see why they would feel like we do. It's like, hey, are we going to enforce this law or not? And on the other hand, it's just more work for them, isn't it? David said on Facebook, he was in a public place. He is a public servant paid by taxpayers, so I don't see why you can't play the video. Because the video was in a closed building, and since only one person was there with a camera and audio source recording it, and they happened to be a business rival, their head corporation and our parent corporation are rivals, and so we have specific limitations on what we could do. So sorry about that, David. Now I can send you a link to it if you want to email me, james@wbap.com. But trust me, he said it. Gary said the Dallas interim police chief needs to be fired for not helping ICE. Thank you, Gary. He said Dallas is going to turn into a haven for illegal alien gangs. Trump needs to cut off all federal funding to Dallas. What do you say? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Jim and Wiley, you're on WBAP. What do you think about the Dallas police chief not complying with ICE?
Yeah, I agree with what your listeners are saying. I mean, he is the leader of the department. He holds his officers accountable with policies and procedures and code of conduct, but he's not going to adhere to federal law. It's kind of hypocritical. How does that? What kind of leader does that show him to be?
Well, look, I'm seeing a lot of people say that we should cut off his funding or he should be fired. No, he should be arrested and charged with a crime. The same way if I robbed a bank and then I went and hid your apartment, or I don't know, you probably have a big mansion, Jim and Wiley, and the cops came looking for him and you lied. And you're like, nope, he's not in here. And then they found me later. That's how the Dallas police chief should be treated, just like you would be treated if you harbored a felon in your house and obstructed law enforcement. I don't think cutting off funding or firing him's enough, but I just don't want to be like the only psycho with the fringe opinion there. And I'm really looking for, and thank you very much for your call, Jim. Does anybody agree with the police chief? We'll put you to the front of the line. Well, when we have an open line. Well, there, look, Jim just hung up, so there's an open line. 800-288-9227. I want to hear from someone who agrees with the police chief on this one. Evan McKinney, you're on the James Show. What do you think?
Hey, thanks for taking my call. And then I echo everything that's been said. And I also think that he should be arrested. And I also agree with one of the Facebook posts that federal funding should be cut just to show that the administration is not screwing around with this. I mean, they can get someone else in there if he gets fired. goes to jail, gets out after, I don't know, a week or two. You know, he's going to cop a plea and nothing much will come of it. And they'll just keep people will just keep coming in, ready to get arrested, ready to go to jail, get a slap on the wrist. And I think that if you got the federal funding in addition to that, you know, the residents at some point are just going to have enough. When you take away people's money, that's when you start getting a real change, I think.
Look, I'm not saying you're wrong. That would be very effective. But doesn't part of aren't you bothered by the fact that the city of Dallas does receive federal funding and therefore D.C. can have some sort of effect on how we, you know, set up and govern ourselves here in the city of Dallas? Like, I really don't understand why there is federal funding from D.C. to all these towns and cities and whatnot. You know, if you're going to take money from us, run it through D.C. just to give it back to us. Why does it need to go to D.C.? I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying something rubs me wrong about using this mechanism to get the result we want, because I don't really like that mechanism.
Well, and I think there probably needs to be a combination of things to happen. And I don't get the whole federal funding thing either, especially for all these sanctuary cities. Well, look at the past administrations. But I think there has to be several things going on, not just one thing, not just a firing, not just going to jail, or not just cutting federal funding. But there needs to be several things going on to get the message across these people so that they'll stop this.
Evan, real quick, I got like 30 seconds. Maybe Igo's listening right now. I mean, that would make sense. He knows he's on the hot seat. He knows he's getting media attention right now. He knows we're the biggest flame-throwing news talk station in the entire state of Texas. What would you tell him right now?
I would tell him to get ready. You know, get ready for Holman to come, because if you have your heels dug in, that's fine. You've made your choice. All choices have consequences, and get ready to go to jail for a while, at the very least.
I would say change your mind, and if you don't change your mind, I hope you get arrested. Jane in Dallas, you're on WBAP. What's on your mind?
Hi there. Yeah, I was just calling about, of course, what Chief Igo stated. And, here's what I want to say.
Hang on real quick. New people, Chief Igo, the interim police chief, said he's not going to comply with ICE deportations. All right, go.
Yeah, he said it in a different way, but yes. Okay, so what I was going to say is he really doing this rogue? I mean, why don't we find out? Because the police do what they're basically told to do, and you couldn't arrest anybody if they stole something that was $750, under $750. You can arrest them. Well, they had to do what they were told. I'm really curious because in Dallas, it isn't the mayor, it's the city manager that controls the city council, and the city council controls the police. So if I were you, if I could, I'd get the city manager to get on your show, or the city council member.
I'm pretty sure they agree with him, that because this was the same status of the previous police chief and has kind of been the going statecraft of Dallas since I've lived here in the late 90s, really.
Well, exactly. If you think about the other side, I mean, I'm a police supporter, big time. I know that whether he says that or not, their lives are on the line every day. Traffic stop, you never know. If you haven't noticed, but on X, there's several officers all over the country.
Jane, I'm about out of time. Are you married to a police officer? Is that what's going on, or is it your son?
No. I really love the blue, and I see what they do. And I'm just going to say, they when they detain somebody and they're terra lingua, they turn them over to ICE. They don't go, oh, you can go. No, they turn them over. So I just wish everybody would slow down to day one and just see what happens, because all we need is two wars: the police fighting a war with the Mexican people that think they're going to just come take you, and then also police fighting a war with the citizens.
All right, Jane, I love it. I love all your comments. I'm just out of time, okay?
No problem.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Usually when people are that sympathetic, though, it's like they have a brother or a husband or a dad or a son or something. I was just hearing a little bit of an emotional connection there with Jane. Dave in Frisco, you're on WBAP. What do you think?
Yes, sir. It's more of a question, really. It's does the governor Abbott, does he not have any authority to step in with DPS or Texas Rangers and relieve that man of command? Or
I don't think so. I don't think so, because he's not violating state law. He's violating federal law.
Got you. Okay. I was just curious. I was listening and wondering why.
No, but now when you say that,
in Texas,
did they pass a law, or did they just propose a bill a couple years ago in the last session, or maybe it's for this session? I feel like I heard story of a state law that would require or in some way compel sanctuary cities to comply with federal laws, but I don't know if that has any teeth in it. I don't know if he can arrest them on behalf. I don't even know if that passed. But if you just had to like put a gun to my head and what do you think the scenario is, I think this is out of the hands of Paxton and Abbott.
Gotcha. Thank you. Just I wish we didn't have to leave everything to the feds, but federal government. But thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, they've never taken care of it before, so that would be new if the feds actually enforce their own laws. And this is one of the things that I find confounding about Trump 1.0. Yeah, this makes sense. Why didn't you do this last time? But, I mean, he hasn't even done it this time yet. So, I don't know. A lot of questions swirling around, and I do not have all the answers. Kevin, North Richland Hills, you're on WBAP. What do you think, sir?
Yes, sir. I just pulled that up as far as does ICE supersede the local authority? And the answer was they have to work in cooperation with each other.
Yes.
So this guy in Dallas needs to leave, but that's up to elections and all this other junk.
Well, no, it's not up to elections if he gets charged with a crime. If they come put bracelets on him, if they handcuff him and arrest him and charge him with a crime, then he's out of the picture, and we don't have to wait for the next voter approval.
Okay, I just wanted to let you know what I pulled up, and I saw ICE and the local police have to work in cooperation with each other.
Yeah, great.
So where that supersedes one another, I'm not sure.
I appreciate the elbow grease and putting in some work for the James Show, sir. You're a great reporter, Kevin.
All right, later.
Thank you. Let me do one more before I do the Germany terror attack. Matt in Arlington, your thoughts on the Dallas police chief?
Hey, thank you, James. I'm wondering where anybody else is in city leadership to rein this guy in.
What? No, they love it. Why would they don't want to? They agree with this.
Well, then I'm disappointed in the Dallas mayor who spoke at the Republican convention, and I'm thinking you've got a case of double-mindedness going on. And with what Mr. Holman said, makes perfect sense. If you want to release or let people run around in the community and make their job harder when they get here to remove these people and send them back home, you're not doing your community any favors. And that is wrong on more levels than I care to count.
Man, all right. You put some thoughts in my head there, Matt. Number one, if there's anyone in the city government that should do something about it, we have the mayor who switched parties from being a Democrat to Republican. Just how Republican are you, Eric? Also, the rest of the city council, they're totally on board with it. And so the problem with that isn't really a problem with the city council. This is what the voters wanted. This is what they go out and actively seek out. They reject people who say the opposite. So one of the downfalls of democracy is you get the kind of government you deserve. And if you're a bad voter or an uninformed voting bloc, or you're wed to terrible statecraft policies, you're going to get the government you deserve good and hard.
Well, a question I don't know the answer to. Maybe I can delve in and do a little work on the James Show behalf. But did Dallas County as a whole, did they vote red in the last election?
I don't think so. I think Tarrant County did, but
I know Tarrant County did, but that's where I live. So
I think it went blue, but I'm not 100% on that. All right, let me squeeze in this other story, and I'll keep taking calls on the Dallas police chief saying he's not going to work with illegal immigration here. But there was a terror attack in Germany today. And I'm going to go ahead and spoil it for you because there's a couple ways to do this. I could play you the news clips and say, did you notice what they didn't say in there? You notice they didn't say Muslim. You notice they didn't say terrorist. But I'm going to go ahead and spoil the fun and give you the ending first. So now when you're listening to the coverage here, you already know what you're listening for. This is from WCNC, their coverage of the German terror attack that happened today.
Meantime, we are following more breaking news at this hour. Take a look. Live pictures right now. This is Munich, Germany, where at least 28 people, including kids, are hurt after a car drove right through a protest by service workers.
A car, not a Muslim terrorist, a car drove into a crowd.
Probably about lunchtime hour there in Munich right now. And at this hour, local officials say this is believed to be an attack. This was not an accident.
An attack? You mean like a terror attack? You can't say terror in there? No one thought he was just narcoleptic and swerved into a crowd, sir.
They think this was intentional. They also add that suspect is a 24-year-old asylum seeker, so somebody who come into the country there, an immigrant. They're also working to get more information
on asylum seeker. not an Afghanistani Muslim terrorist, not a Muslim terrorist, not even an illegal immigrant, not even a legal immigrant, just an asylum seeker, the most sympathetic term possible.
On what exactly happened. At this point, a number of news agencies reporting that suspect is in custody by police. We'll update you as soon as we know more, but it's worth noting that this comes just a couple of months after a car drove through a crowd in December at a Christmas market.
It was another car. There's no connection there. It's not like they were both Muslim terrorists from outside of the... Oh, that's so weird. It's just cars running into people in Germany.
Also in Germany, a different town, but a similar situation. That incident killed 5 people, injuring more than 200. We'll continue to keep our eye on the situation out of Munich. Situation there after a car drove through a protest. Suspect appears to be in custody. Let's just know what else develops.
He knew the entire time that the guy was an Afghani Muslim terrorist, and the whole time that this was a terror attack. They knew it because in the original reporting from the AP that this guy was reading from, you can see Afghan asylum seeker in like paragraph 28 or whatever it is. Look at these people. How many people have to get run over before you say, hey, maybe there's something going on with all these asylum seekers? You know, like if there were people yelling Roll Tide while running through crowds multiple times, someone would say, what's going on in Alabama? But no, we're not allowed to do that here. DEI means some people DIE. Garrett David's going to get 7 points here. He's just going to get a full touchdown. Because he sent me a link via Facebook Messenger about the bill that Governor Abbott signed in 2017. You know how we were just saying a couple segments ago, it sounded familiar. Isn't there some sort of state law? Like, didn't we just do this a few years ago? Yeah, 2017. So 8 years ago, Governor Abbott signed into law, and it went into effect in September of 2017, a sanctuary city ban. And so it says entities and officials that do not comply with the law could face the following penalties. Oh, by the way, if you're just joining us, the interim Dallas police chief, Igo, said that he's not going to assist ICE and turn over all the illegals that he finds, and you don't have to worry about it. He's not going to be part of the evil deportation schemes, but he is now facing a fine of $25,500 for each day of the violation. A Class A misdemeanor for a sheriff, chief of police, or constable who fails to comply with federal immigration detainer requests. That's like exactly what he was saying. And removal from office for any elected or appointed official who does not comply with the law. Oh my goodness. Get Abbott on the phone. We got one. Do it. Has anyone ever been punished under this law? Did we just pass this law so everyone could feel good, or did we mean it when we pass it? When you sent your elected representatives to go put this into place, did you want it to be enforced, or did you want it to be ignored? Because what good does it do if we just pass laws and they don't enforce them? And then so we pass a law against being here legally, and Dallas Police Chief says, I'm just not going to enforce that. And then we don't do nothing. And so then we pass a law saying, well, you can't ignore this law. And then we ignore that law. Is someone going to do something? Is this guy going to get put in handcuffs? Is he going to get a $25,000 fine? He's done this for a couple days now. I think he's up to $50,000 just for the last 2 days. But how long has he been in office operating under these principles? See, the problem is the guy before him was doing it too. Never got the penalties, never got the misdemeanor, never got removed from office, never got the fines. So I don't know if I should even be excited about this or if I'm just wasting my breath. 800-288-9227. John in Fort Worth, you're on WBAP. What do you think?
Hey, James Cole, I've got a little bit different take on this. I just want to kind of put this in everybody's brains to kind of stew about it, because it's not quite so simple. So just to put it in perspective, man, I've been a cop for over 2 decades, both local and federal, and I work currently for one of the 3-letter agencies that's gonna be involved in some of this. So I'm just kind of want to defend the police chief a little bit here, just because of the fact that people are going to have to look at this from his perspective, right? So his mission as the Dallas police chief is to solve crimes and keep crimes down. So if the migrant community goes underground because of this, say one of them witnesses your child being murdered, they're not going to step up and say, hey, I saw exactly who did it.
and I'm willing to tell you everything if they are afraid they're going to be deported right after they do it. So I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I just kind of wanted to put that out there for everybody that it's a little bit more complicated than what we're making it seem like. No, they shouldn't be in the country illegally. But from the local cops' perspective, those dudes are just trying to solve local crimes.
Yeah, I get where the thought process comes from. It's just really juvenile and shallow because and I know you're not making that point. You're just kind of playing devil's advocate and trying to tell it from the other side. But like, if I had robbed a bank and that made me less likely to go tell the cops that I witnessed some other, like if I saw a murder, if I saw someone knocking over a liquor store, I would be less likely to go tell cops about that because of my existing status as a criminal from robbing banks. So does that mean we don't enforce the laws against robbing banks anymore? Of course not. It is just a lame excuse for them to do what they wanted to do anyway, because they're not concerned about enforcing the law first and foremost. If they're ignoring some of them, they're only worried about enforcing the laws that are politically convenient for them. And that is not justice at all. That's social justice, but that's not justice. If you have to put a qualifier in front of it, it's not real justice. That's all.
Yeah, I'm tracking with you. And a final anecdotal piece here. So this past week, I actually had an illegal immigrant begging me to arrest him because he wanted to self-deport. And it was on the same day that the news hit about that first group of Venezuelan.
Yeah, but was that up in smoke when they wanted to get deported because the nephew was having a wedding in Tijuana and they just wanted a free ride, and then also they get a free lunch with it too? I think that's the old Cheech and Chong intentional deportation. Steven in Dallas, you're on WBAP. What do you think, sir?
Well, I've been a Dallas police officer for almost 2 decades myself.
Okay, so we'll just say this is a fake name. Definitely not Steven.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, nailed it. You should be a detective yourself. So we were briefed, I don't know, a week or 10 days ago in our morning meeting that we would not be helping federal agencies without prior approval all the way from the chief of police office because they're worried about the optics. Since 99% of these agencies are in unmarked cars and they ask for, some uniformed officers to cover them, all you see on the news is Dallas police cars at the scene and a bunch of black Tahoes, So that bothers me that was put out 10 days before the excuse of, we don't want them not to call 911. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. No, of course it's political. Oh, and it's so good to hear that from a cop. If you really are a cop. I mean, we just don't want to make any assumptions here. Thank you very much, Steven. See, they are having meetings and they are telling the truth, and you just heard it via the James Show. That's why we do all this. And thanks again for David for sending me the link to that Texas banning of sanctuary cities that happened in 2017. So we're not crazy. You did remember that, because we were saying, don't you remember that? Yes, we have it now. They're just doing this for political reasons. It is illegal at the federal level. It is illegal at the state level. And according to state law, Igo should lose his job and start clocking $25,000 fines every single day. That sounds like justice. The interim Dallas police chief is our top story of the day. And God, there's so much going on in D.C., but, sometimes when you have a bigger local story, but it does feel weird to ignore all the big stories going on, all the stuff that's going on with Doge, stuff that's Trump just made some new statements about tariffs. We had another terror attack that happened in Germany. It was just a car that randomly drove itself into a crowd. There's no connection to any other cars that are driving themselves into a crowd, I'm sure. Also, we talked quite a bit about the new stock exchange coming to Texas. There's actually 2 of them. So, dude, we're becoming the center of the financial world. There's just so much going on. So if you didn't get to hear all this, maybe you're just joining the show, or maybe you got to duck out before the show's over. This is what the James Show podcast is for. So you don't have to miss anything. Wherever you're already listening to podcasts, have you already looked it up? Look up the James Show. Once you find it, subscribe or follow or whatever it says in whatever app you're in, whether it's Spotify or the Pie Chart app or I prefer the WBAP app. I just realized that other people do other things. So we got all that going on. If you want to hear more on any of these other topics that we covered today, The James Show podcast. My numbers are doing better, but I need them up. Find it, like it, love it, share it, subscribe, alerts, all that good thing. Let's go back to the phones here. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Looks like we got a couple calls about the Dallas police chief not working with ICE. I wonder if they support it or not. Bob, Wolf City, your thoughts.
All right. The biggest myth about this whole thing with Dallas PD, any other local state PD, they cannot enforce federal laws. They would have to be deputized by either the U.S. Marshals or ATF to be able to go out and round up illegal immigrants. The biggest injustice, I should say, that's happening with Dallas or any of these other liberal cities, basically what they're doing is, okay, say a patrol officer goes out and arrests somebody for some unrelated crime. They bring this person back to the jail. They get fingerprinted. Immigration gets a notification based off this person's fingerprints that, oh, immigration wants this person. Immigration will send a detainer to this jail saying, do not let this person go. We want them. We are coming with a warrant. Hold them for us. And what these agencies do is they ignore that and they let these people go.
Yeah, I think that was my understanding of it, and I assume that was most people's understanding of it. But yeah, that all sounded correct.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy that you have an agency saying we want this person, and they just say nope, sorry, goodbye.
So, but we also have the situation where, according to Tom Homan in several interviews in the last 3 months, that it's illegal to do that on the federal level. And then we had the law that was passed on the state level that went into effect September of 2017. Someone emailed me the link reminding us of that earlier in the show. So it's illegal at a state level too, but I don't think that's ever been enforced.
I doubt it, because the people that have to enforce it are the same ones that are making the calls to say don't hold these people for immigration. You got to realize that who's going to enforce this is going to be,
with the Texas Rangers,
judges,
Texas Rangers, or FBI. Federal would be FBI. The
FBI,
state would be.
About it.
Well, under Tom Homan.
Yeah, under Tom Homan, yeah. But once we get our new FBI director confirmed, then maybe things will change. But yeah, I mean, as far as the Texas Rangers, yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. The top of the Texas Rangers, how they play, I mean, political, it always swings.
I know. Isn't that awful? We can make it illegal at so many levels, but if we don't have anyone on Team Red to actually follow the law, what good does it do? None. All right.
Exactly.
All right. Appreciate your insights, Bob, Wolf City. Appreciate it, sir. Thank you. Call back anytime. This is Joel in Wichita Falls. Your thoughts. You're on WBAP.
I got 2 points. Number one, your last guest, the situation he describes is why I throw every Republican fundraiser letter I get straight in the trash. Number two, the police chief. I remember when I was growing up, a federal law about integration was put out there, and George Wallace and other Democratic South state governors refused to enforce it. And Mr. Kennedy sent federal troops down there to show that you will follow federal law.
Well, that wasn't the first one. The first one was Dwight Eisenhower had to go send in the National Guard. The Republican Eisenhower had to go send in the National Guard to remove the Democrat governor of Arkansas, Orville Faubus. He was the guy who started the whole, I'm going to stand in front of the school doors and prevent integration because I'm a Democrat and I hate black people.
Yeah, no, I know. And if you don't follow the law, we don't have a rule of law. We have rule of men. And if you don't have a rule of law, we've lost our country. They need to enforce it to the fullest and make examples of every one of these guys that is breaking the law that they have full knowledge of. They swore an oath to uphold it, and they need to pay the penalty for rubbing their nose at it.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the philosophical underpinning of the argument here. Either you have rule of law or you have rule of man. We don't use the term rule of man nearly as much as we use the term rule of law, but that should bother you about selective enforcement of any of these laws. So we talk about it for in the immigration sense here, but there's also like the rule of man when it comes to, Hunter Biden has just countless hours of him breaking all kinds of laws and no one enforces that. No one treats it like if your son was on video smoking crack and getting prostitutes and illegally buying guns and throwing them in trash cans and whatever. So, the whole selective enforcement thing breaks that philosophical code, and whether or not you agree with the law or not shouldn't have any bearing on whether or not it gets selectively enforced. Because, if there is a bad law, if there is a law that's terrible statecraft, one of the easiest ways to get rid of it is to enforce it and enforce it thoroughly. That will force the change to happen. You know, it's so like if it's illegal to possess small amounts of drugs and then someone says, well, I'm just not going to enforce that. Now, even if you agree with it, you should disagree with the process. You should strive to say, no, we need to change the law, not selectively enforce the law, because what Joel brought up, then you lose the rule of law. Now you have the rule of man, because if it's all selective enforcement, now you're just living under the same kind of tyranny you would have under any kind of despot or king or dictator. But I'm glad you brought up that phrase. We need to bring that more, Joel, in Wichita Falls. Rule of man is kind of what we're living under now. And, well, it's what we're living under now, but that could all change if we actually enforce the law and see what happens when cops either from Austin or DC come to put bracelets on Igo. See if he changes his mind. All right, coming up next, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame announced nominees. We will criticize them next on The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3.